It may be raining, it may be pouring, but Peter Jackson, well, he's never boring. So today I'll be discussing PJ in my PJs. Because indeed, it has been raining in Los Angeles for like 3 days straight. Wholly unprecedented, but desperately needed. I've been digging it. Me and my little frog familiar here. Look at how cute. He's even got his little hat. He's my real crowning jewel, that one. I like to show him off whenever I get the chance. But we've been just, hanging inside. I hope everyone in the flooding areas is safe and sound, and doing okay. But collectively, as a city and a state, we really needed it. So, doing the best we can. I have been feeling like just especially like puffy, you know, in the face area and bloated. You can tell. Um, because I've been hitting the roids pretty hard. I've been juicing. And my lungs are making some incredible gains. But steroids are a miracle drug that will help you achieve all of your dreams. So if you're sitting in the gym right now, holding a syringe, ready to shoot your ass full of it, um, keep doing what you're doing, man. I think you're looking great. You're making incredible gains. And this is basically steroids are akin to a magic wand that will change your life completely and make everything better overnight. So here is my sweeping statement on the drug steroids. A miracle that will make all of your dreams come true. And I know that the steroids I'm taking and the steroids they're taking are completely different. But there it is. There's my steadfast endorsement. So write that down. But I was able to catch begonia for my birthday, and what a birthday treat it was. I floated out of the theater on an absolute cloud. Oh, just smiling ear to ear. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I just did, and I knew I would. If you haven't seen this one yet, catch it at a theater. It will not disappoint. And made my birthday a very special day. So um, last night when I got home, though, I was like especially struck with I saw that Eddington was on HBO, and before I drifted off into the land of dreams, I decided to throw on a rewatch of Eddington, um, and I was just kind of really struck with like my last lucid thoughts before I drifted off into slumber were like thinking about this new crop of filmmakers. Like we got Yorgos, we got Ari, we got Robert Eggers, and you know they make these films that can't be defined as subtle in any way, but they're never ham-fisted. And I think what makes them just so head and shoulders above the rest is that they really kind of ground themselves in the art form. Because especially I feel like with Eddington and Begonia, these two movies that really kind of strike at the current moment, it's like they really easily could have turned into these heavy-handed cringe fests, but they didn't, I think, because of how serious that they take the art form. They take all of their self-importance out, all of their and they don't get muddied in the message that they're trying to send. Um they really ground themselves in their narratives and in building these really incredible characters. Of course, the actors have a lot to do with that as well. But I think it's just like you know by doing that, it's like the movies speak for themselves. um, and I used to be really, really worried because, we have all of our legendary filmmakers. They're aging, they're leaving us. And I was like, who picks up that torch, man? Like, who carries us into the future of cinema? And I think just watching so many of these new guys and gals pop up, it's like, you know, the more I see of it, the more I'm like, I feel better. And I feel like, we're going to be okay. Um, we will miss our legends, but the future of cinema has its voices, and it may be fewer than previous generations, but I believe in them, man, and I appreciate them. Um, but we're not here to talk about me. We're not here to talk about Royds. We're not here to even talk about other filmmakers today, because today we are here to talk about maybe one of the most important men in the history of the world, Peter Jackson. So let's all go around the room and can say what Peter Jackson means to us. You know what? And really, if that was a real icebreaker question, like my palms are sweaty because it's like, how do I even articulate what Peter Jackson means to me? Like, where would I even begin? What would I even say? Because I feel like to say that Peter Jackson, especially his early work, is an influence on my life is it's honestly the most drastic understatement a person could ever say in the history of speech. I think the closest way to define how I feel about Peter Jackson is that I'm a Peter Jackson apostle. I even flirted with the idea of starting a cult in his honor not too long ago. Um, but getting out of the sort of initial planning phases and things like that, I just realized like I'm simply one person and I don't have the mental infrastructure to create and facilitate a cult that could very well contain the entire globe. So it's entirely my own shortcoming. I've, dedicated my life to his forgiveness. Um, but I'm also not great at coming up with names for things, like it's like, all right, we're gonna start a cult about Peter Jackson. What do we call ourselves? Now, this is the part that absolutely was the final nail in the coffin because I was like, my mind was going to like, oh, what are we, the Jackson Jammers, the Jolly Jacksons, the Jackson Masters, which that one's actually a riff on a real cult, the Ascended Masters. The Ascended Masters, of course, are a cult up in Mount Shasta who worship the lost civilization of Lemuria. And, and if you haven't gone down that rabbit hole, I highly recommend. It's some good shit. Um, if you're into Lord of the Rings, it's some real high fantasy shit. Um, and I am going to let you in on a little trade secret, a little industry insight here. There is some lore that's now been incorporated into the history of the people of Lemuria that was created by yours truly. Indeed, indeed. You're looking at her. I didn't use my name for obvious reasons, but I didn't use my real name for obvious reasons. But it's a good name. If you see it, you're gonna know. I think you're gonna know. Like that's me. And I didn't write it under the pseudonym of Peter Jackson. So don't even go there. I would never do that. I would never um take his say anything in his name without permission. But yeah, I was in a real deep dark hole about 10 years ago and basically completely untethered from reality and channeled that into um creating the basically the documents for the War of the Ascending Masters. I looped in the lost city of Atlantis in on this. Um created whole generational warfare and between the people of Lemuria and Atlantis. So if you come across enough GeoCities websites, welcome to my world. You're in it, man. You're in the shit. There's no getting out now. You can check in, but you can never leave. But yeah, if you come across it, I was pretty proud to discover re-looking at it. And number one, I was like, "Dad, this is actually really cool shit." Like, this came out of a really bad place, really dark place, really untethered place from any sort of reality. But very, it was fucking cool. It's fucking cool, and I was so proud that it got actually had been integrated now into the history. So I mean, The only thing I could think of, the next achievement on that is if the Ascending Masters, I don't know much about the AMs, but I will say um they're a very like insular group, very, very secretive group, obviously. And I'm not sure what their religious texts are, but man, if they had my stuff in there, I mean, that's a real crowning jewel for me. I'd be psyched. And also, I would probably ask to join because it's like I would be an ascended master. I don't really know anything about what they're doing and everything like that. But it's like I did help create your holy text, so I feel like I should be an honorary master at the very least. Um, but you know what? Back to Peter Jackson. Let's ground this in Peter Jackson, okay? Because I don't want to get away from this too much. Um, but the thing about Peter Jackson is, I feel like most people my age and younger like see Peter Jackson as like the Lord of the Rings guy, the Lord of the Rings maestro. And in and of itself, that's an incredible feat, right? Like we all flocked to the theater to see his incredible trilogy. And I think I speak for everyone when I say like, we were really floored by the capabilities and just what the future of filmmaking really had in store for us. And I actually got to see him hold court at a San Diego Comic Con a few years back. And he was headlining Hall H with James Cameron. They were talking about like the history and future of cinema. And I'm dating myself here because this is like pre Avengers movie. So it was like prior to all the celebrity shit getting brought there. So Hall H was simply like a place where two guys like Peter Jackson and James Cameron could headline. So, needless to say, there were no lines. No one was sleeping over, as much as we might want that to be the truth. You could walk right in. You could walk right in and out of Hall H all day. And indeed, for that one, I walked right in, sat front fucking row, and just listened to these two hold court. And it was like right around the time that James Cameron was releasing his first Avatar, and he was like, look, I've changed the entire scope and landscape of cinema. I'm really excited for you guys to see what the fuck I've done with $1 billion. Of course, I was exceptionally excited to see what the fuck he had done with $1 billion. um and it was just sort of crazy, like sitting in that room. I remember thinking, like, man, PJJC, these are like the only two dudes that you could give $1 billion to and like expect a return on that shit. Um, Not that it really means anything. It's like films are an art. Dump as much fucking money as you want into them. Uh, who cares? Who cares if you get it back? Their value are just so much more than monetary. But it's still pretty crazy. But right around this time is when I discovered that I was like, oh, Peter Jackson isn't just Mr. Lord of the Rings. He's not just Mr. King Kong. He's a genre renaissance man, to my great delight. He's part James Cameron, part Sam Raimi, all PJ. He embodies it all, man. And I like to think of him as akin to the Universal Minion, sitting atop his theme park mountaintop, watching us, the city of angels, from the valleys to the shores, under his eye, under Peter Jackson's visionary gaze. His mind is as beautiful as the island he hails, and as deep as the depths, and vast as the depths of all of our oceans combined. I doubt anyone could look upon Peter Jackson or his works and not be changed forever. And Father Jackson, he does not want you to cleanse your sins, but to get down so deep you indeed bathe in the sickness. So rejoice with Bad Taste that came out in 1987. Birthday twinsies. Now this is really my crowning glory, that I share a birth year with Bad Taste. Look at us, aren't we cute? Me and Bad Taste, soulmates forevs. So Bad Taste came out in 1987 with Meet the Feebles that came out in 1989. So back in the 80s and the early 90s, Peter Jackson made a stint of splatter films. And it goes Bad Taste, Meet the Feebles, and Dead Alive. Because, of course, remember, I'm a Peter Jackson acolyte, okay? Of course, I fucking have this movie. And this movie. This movie is sick as fuck, man. And I just watched it recently because it's a Halloween staple for me. I either watch it the night before or the night of. And, it's just, it's tradition. Of course, I watch it throughout the year as well. But, gosh, every time you watch, it's like you're just reminded of, like, how absolutely fucking cool this movie is. So the three of these honestly are really just like some of my favorite films of all time, uh, to be honest. My Bad Taste was his feature debut, and he worked on it on the weekends over a course of like a few years, and it's sort of like a more commercially successful Mark Bouchard. And without exaggeration, this is what brought Kiwi cinema to the world. Because I know with this next bit, I know you guys are gonna think I'm making it up. And okay. Admittedly, this sounds like something I would make up, but I'm not making it up because you can look it up. The Bad Taste was brought to and bought at the Cannes Film Festival. Our very own Bad Taste. And I just love to imagine like, some like very self-important suit like sitting in the audience, and like watching this film and being like, I gotta get to this guy before he's mobbed. Before Bad Taste becomes an international sensation, man. I gotta get on the ground floor of this guy. And that man was absolutely right. 100%. 100, man. Um, but young PJ made all of the practical effects and all of the props on this film, which I have this great video I'm going to link down below. I was watching it on one of my lunch breaks last week, and it's just like a really incredible look into his very ingenious designs and this sort of like raw artistry that you absolutely believe this is coming from just some dude in his parents' basement, but it's cool as fuck anyway. I think the most mind-blowing part of it though was when he mentions like, oh no, I never work from drawings. Like I just start sculpting and channel the characters and this is what comes out. It was like, what? Like that is so cool. Um so I think as similar to his very unique designs, I think are like the tone of this film and all three of these films really, that are just so specific to PJ, and it's just like these films are just they're as absurd as they're disgusting, and it's just I think the plot's pretty straightforward in this one. It's like, we have aliens who have the taste for man flesh, who have come to Earth to harvest and farm for intergalactic hamburger meat. And our main characters are dispatched to this really small town in New Zealand to find out like where all the citizens went. Of course, we know hamburger meat, but PJ has an especially fun role in this, so look out for that, Jim. But yeah, all just like insanity ensues from there, and we get a lot of like slapstick humor with just ultra violent absurdity. And I have so much fun watching this one every time I put it on, and I know you guys will too. um but eventually it devolves into all out warfare. We got machine guns, we got chainsaws, we got even rocket launchers. And then we end on the people's champion, humanity's hero, aboard the alien spacecraft, headed back to their home planet, set forth on the path of vengeance. This one is just it's really one for the history books, and I thank you every day, PJ, for bringing this to the world. bringing it not only to my TV, but to everyone's TV across the globe. And maybe even the aliens that, maybe, some of the nefarious aliens. I mean, maybe this is why we haven't been visited by them. Maybe they're watching this and it serves as a little bit of a warning. So, PJ, not only a great craftsman and a true artist, but also the um, the world's protector. Um, so initially, PJ wanted to do Dead Alive next, but he realized like that's gonna take a lot more money than I got. So let's go with the cheaper option. Let's go with the cheapest option, which just so happens to be the most deranged Muppets knockoff that's ever existed. Um, and I was watching this interview with him that I just really feel like encapsulates the spirit of the film. Because it's super low budge, and he's like, we were looking for this location, we found something underneath these train tracks. It was absolutely filthy, crawling with fleas. So subsequently, the puppets were infested, and he's like on a video, like every time you see like the puppets start to jerk and go into epileptic seizures. The reason for that being because the puppeteers are literally being bitten into oblivion. Besides that, I feel like this movie is a test of true genius in many ways. Of course, for me personally, PJ passes my very own Turing test of sorts with flying colors. Of course, I am referring to the pervert test. Now, the pervert test, I've talked about it before, but let me just refresh your memories. That this is a real, it's deeply rooted in my worldview. That I feel like to be a great artist, one must be a pervert, and there are no exceptions. People have tried to stump me, and let me tell you, believe me when I say this is impossible. If you throw out a name, I'll throw a perversion right back at you. And let me just warn you when you do this, because sometimes people get very upset. Um, I am an oracle. I am an oracle of perversion. I am all knowing in this one very specific area, and don't ask questions you aren't ready for the answers. Like just don't do it. Because sometimes it's like people throw out their favorite filmmaker's name, and it's like, oh, I didn't want to know that. So trust. I will always have something for you. But of course, PJ is a sort of all father of perversion. And in this case, he really highlights his sexual attraction to the puppets. He loves to watch these things fuck. Um, and but I think more importantly, or just as important, he mourns along with them when their venereal diseases might be the very thing that kills them. Oh yeah, this one gets emotional. We're having a good time, we're having fun, but it's gotta get grounded, It's gotta get grounded in the emotion. That's just the kind of man PJ is. And I really do believe that this is the film that got his wife to marry him. I think this love story between these two is so sweet. It gives me so much hope these two found each other and collaborated on such a piece, that I feel like just it lets us in on their love. It's a highly romantic film for these two, and I feel like, it just really it lets us in on their love story for the ages. It's a highly personal piece for them. And it really does. It gives us a romance for the generation. So grab a sweetheart, put on and Meet the Feebles. Um, definitely you won't get broken up with for it. If you're a guy, just probably don't do it. Probably just never mention you even know what this film is. But you know, Peter Jackson, he's just such a generous, he really evokes the spirit of Saint Nicholas to me. He's so generous in his gift giving. Um, like Santa on Christmas Eve, his audience, just, plagued with visions of pornographic, vice riddled, shell shocked, murdering histrionics dancing around in our heads. Um, so we got Heidi the Hippo. She's an oversexed main act, a singer and lover of Bletch, the walrus. Oozing with sleaze, oozing with more sleaze than the most debased alleyway of the most deranged red light district. We have a rat porno director, we have a worm show manager, an elephant, his chicken ex, and their offspring abomination, along with a bitter child support suit. A panty sniffing aardvark, a slimy fly tabloid reporter who lives in a toilet, um, a promiscuous rabbit and a duck doctor who delivers the news. He may have a fatal sexually transmitted disease. We got the walrus's two henchmen, a bulldog, yay, bugly representation, and a warthog. Oh, these two, so cute. So cute. Definitely a highlight. They are murderers. They do murder. But see, this is sort of concocted by Bletch, of course. You know, it could always be traced back to Bletch. And he's concocted like this drug deal to go, he's planning for it to go wrong so that he can usurp the territory of a sperm whale and his crab henchmen. Which trigger warning on this, because I have to say, as much as the crab's violent end was maybe a spectacular splatterfest, wonderfully cinematically crafted. Of course, it's just I can't say I was really a fan. I was really fond of the crab. Um, and I hated to see him meet his end that way. But a stunning performance by the crab nonetheless, and of course, all this due to a shell-shocked Vietnam frog who has become a rabbit addict due to his agonizing PTSD. We cover such topics as eating disorders, drug addiction, sex addiction, mental illness, murder, accidental suicide, sexual assault, and puppets engaging in every degenerate sex act that common man may find unimaginable. But Peter Jackson, well, he just calls it a typical Friday night. However, at the center of this are two innocents, a darling little hedgehog and a poodle gal he's all starry-eyed for. So, like as I mentioned earlier, this is obviously a very highly personal piece for PJ and his wife Fran, and I just feel like they just couldn't help themselves. They had to write in these two proxies, and not only do I appreciate it, I applaud it, man. Let that streak of freak just completely, illuminate itself across the annals of cinematic history. I mean, raise that freak flag. I mean, I'll be out there raising it, playing a little trumpet, saluting it every day. Um, I'm so glad they wrote themselves into the piece. It's actually really sweet. um, but of course, our puppet variety show does not end on the best note. It culminates in vomit, copious amounts of death, and even a musical number about sodomy. While Heidi the Hippo machine guns down the entire set after discovering the infidelity of Bletch with a Siamese cat. After the rampage and as the cops descend on the scene, Heidi sings her last performance before heading off to the big house. And for all those that are just sick with worry, there is a postscript scene. At the end, it lets you know that, how all the characters who escaped the hippo's wrath are now living out their version of happily ever after. So thank you, because I was sick over it, and I really needed it. So, it's like we almost share a mind sometimes. It's almost like, it feels like we're so connected. It was like exactly what I needed at that moment. And I really do think that this film is just the perfect balance of adorable and debauched. Not a movie exists that captures my heart and spirit any closer than that. Of course. I got the shirt. Because of course I do. Of course I got the shirt. Um, but Peter Jackson to me is almost a godlike figure where we may not be able to fully understand his ways and may never fully be able to, but we certainly can appreciate them. So all hail Peter Jackson, a man who is more than a man, but a dazzling figure that burns as bright as an eternal flame. As lewd as he is lovable, as serious as he is absurd. If you don't want the world to see you, because you don't think that they'd understand, you bet your sweet ass Peter Jackson does. Go forth, my newly ingratiated acolytes, enjoy the shit out of his works, and spread the gospel for all to hear.